Billionaire CEO fires Black waitress after she feeds an autistic boy, then discovers the shocking truth. What if a billionaire CEO fired a waitress for showing compassion to his autistic son? Emily Johnson, 25, carried the weight of Brooklyn in her bones. Raised in a cramped apartment where love was plentiful but money was scarce, she grew up watching her mother, a single parent, stretch every dollar to feed her and her younger brother, Jamal. At 16, Emily lost her mother to cancer, leaving her to care for Jamal, who was autistic and needed more than most. She learned early how to read his silences, his stims, his subtle cues, a skill that shaped her into a woman of unshakable empathy. Now a waitress at La Maison, New York's most exclusive five-star restaurant, Emily had clawed her way up from dishwasher to server, her warm smile and quiet competence earning her respect from colleagues but little notice from the elite clientele. Her passion for food wasn't just a job, it was a dream of one day owning a restaurant where everyone, no matter their background, could feel at home. Thomas Harrison, 42, was a titan of industry, the CEO of Horizon Tech, a startup that had revolutionized data analytics and made him a billionaire by 35. With his sharp suits and sharper tongue, Thomas commanded rooms effortlessly, his confidence bordering on arrogance. But beneath the polished exterior was a man running from vulnerability. His son, Max, was diagnosed with autism at age 5, a reality Thomas refused to fully embrace. He buried himself in work, leaving his wife, Claire, to navigate Max's needs alone. To Thomas, control was everything. Control over his company, his image, his life. Anything that threatened that control, even a small act of kindness, felt like an attack. Claire, 38, was the quiet strength behind the Harrison family. A former graphic designer, she'd given up her career to care for Max, whose sensory sensitivities and communication challenges demanded her full attention. Exhausted but fiercely devoted, Claire loved her son with a depth that sometimes left her feeling invisible. Her marriage to Thomas was strained, his emotional absence a constant ache. Yet she held on to hope that he could change, that he could see Max not as a problem to be managed but as a boy who needed his father. Max, 8, was a bundle of contradictions, bright but overwhelmed, curious but easily overstimulated. His autism made crowded places like La Maison a sensory minefield. Words often failed him, but his eyes spoke volumes, darting nervously, searching for safety. Max loved simple things, the texture of mashed potatoes, the predictability of routine. His parents' tension weighed on him, though he couldn't articulate it. In Emily, he would find a rare moment of understanding. La Maison was a cathedral of fine dining, its walls adorned with abstract art, its tables set with crystal and silver. Located in Manhattan's Upper East Side, it was a playground for the wealthy, where a single meal could cost more than Emily's weekly rent. The staff operated like a well-oiled machine, every gesture choreographed to maintain the illusion of effortless luxury. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered, between servers and management, between wealth and labor, between appearance and reality. It was a chilly November evening, and La Maison was buzzing with its usual crowd of financiers, celebrities, and old money. Emily moved through the dining room, her tray balanced with practiced ease, her smile unwavering despite the ache in her feet. She'd been on shift for 8 hours, her third double that week, but she never let it show. Her section included table 12, where the Harrisons had just been seated. Max sat hunched in his chair, his small hands flapping rhythmically against the tablecloth. Claire, her face tight with worry, tried to coax him into looking at the menu, but Max's eyes were fixed on the flickering candle, his discomfort palpable. Thomas, engrossed in a call about a merger, barely glanced at his son. "Claire, handle it," he muttered, waving a hand dismissively. Emily approached, her instincts kicking in. She'd seen that look before. Jamal had it when the world felt too loud, too bright. Kneeling slightly to Max's level, she spoke softly. "Hey, buddy, you like potatoes? I can get you some mashed potatoes, nice and smooth, with a little grilled chicken on the side. Sound good?" Max's flapping slowed, his eyes meeting hers for a fleeting moment. He nodded, almost imperceptibly. Claire's shoulders relaxed, a grateful smile breaking through her exhaustion. "Thank you," she whispered. Emily nodded and slipped back to the kitchen, where she convinced the chef to whip up a simple plate, off-menu but perfect for Max. When she returned with the dish, Max's face lit up, and he began to eat, his body visibly calming. But Thomas, now off his call, noticed the exchange. His jaw tightened. "What's this?" he demanded, his voice loud enough to turn heads. "We didn't order this." Emily, caught off guard, kept her tone professional. "Sir, I noticed your son seemed uncomfortable with the menu, so I thought." "You thought?" Thomas cut her off, his eyes narrowing. "You don't get paid to think. You're a waitress, not a nanny. Who authorized this?" Claire reached for his arm. "Thomas, she was just being kind." "Kind?" he snapped, his voice rising. "This is a 5-star restaurant, not a daycare. She overstepped." He turned to the manager, who had hurried over, sensing trouble. "I want her gone. Now." The manager, a wiry man named Victor with a knack for appeasing the wealthy, hesitated only a moment. "Emily, you're done," he said, his voice cold. "Get your things." The dining room fell silent, all eyes on Emily. Her heart pounded, her throat tight with humiliation, but she held her head high. She removed her apron, folded it neatly, and walked out, the weight of every stare burning into her back. Outside, in the cold November air, she let the tears come, but only for a moment. She'd been through worse. She'd survive this. Emily returned to her small Brooklyn apartment, where Jamal was waiting, his favorite puzzle spread across the floor. He sensed her distress immediately, his brow furrowing. You okay?" he asked, his voice halting but sincere. She forced a smile. "Just a rough night, Jay. I'll figure it out." But inside, she was unraveling. La Maison had been her lifeline, her shot at a better future. Now, with no job and bills piling up, the weight of caring for Jamal felt heavier than ever. Meanwhile, at La Maison, the incident lingered. A few patrons had recorded the exchange on their phones, and by morning, a clip was circulating on X. The post read, "Billionaire CEO humiliates black waitress for helping his autistic son. This is La Maison's hospitality." The video spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views. Hashtags like #JusticeForEmily and #BoycottLaMaison trended, with users praising Emily's compassion and condemning Thomas's cruelty. The story reached Horizon Tech, where employees began whispering about their CEO's behavior. A junior analyst, emboldened by the public outcry, posted anonymously on an internal forum. "If Thomas Harrison can't show empathy to a waitress, how can we trust him to lead us?" The post sparked a quiet rebellion, with employees questioning Thomas's leadership for the first time. Claire, scrolling through the posts at home, felt a mix of guilt and vindication. She'd always known Thomas's detachment was a problem, but seeing it exposed so publicly was jarring. She looked at Max, playing quietly with his blocks, and made a decision. She messaged Emily through a mutual contact, a line cook at La Maison. "I'm so sorry for what happened. You did something beautiful for my son. Can we talk?" Emily, wary but curious, agreed to meet. Over coffee in a small Brooklyn cafe, Claire shared her story. Max's diagnosis, Thomas's denial, her own exhaustion. "You saw Max in a way Thomas never has," she said, tears in her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." Emily listened, her anger softening but not disappearing. "I just did what felt right," she said. "I know what it's like to love someone who needs a little extra." Weeks later, as the online furor continued, Thomas found himself cornered. His board of directors, worried about the PR nightmare, urged him to address the scandal. But it was a late-night conversation with Claire that broke through. "You didn't just hurt that waitress," she said, her voice steady but fierce. "You hurt Max. You hurt me. You need to fix this, Thomas, not for your company, but for your son." Thomas, shaken, watched the viral video again. For the first time, he saw Max's relief when Emily brought the food, the way his son's tension melted away. He saw Emily's kindness, her quiet strength. And he saw himself, angry, controlling, blind. The realization hit like a tidal wave. He'd failed Max, not because of his autism, but because of his own refusal to connect. He reached out to Emily through a mutual contact, asking for a meeting. Skeptical, Emily agreed, but only on her terms, at a community center in Brooklyn where she volunteered. There, surrounded by kids like Jamal, Thomas apologized. "I was wrong," he said, his voice raw. "I saw your kindness as a threat, but it was a gift. I've been a terrible father to Max, and I hurt you because of it. I want to make this right." Emily studied him, searching for sincerity. "Words are easy, Mr. Harrison. What are you actually going to do?" Thomas proposed a partnership, a charity called Max's Table, dedicated to training restaurant staff to accommodate children with special needs. He offered Emily a leadership role, with full creative control and a generous budget. "I don't want to buy your forgiveness," he said. "I want to learn from you." Emily hesitated. She didn't trust Thomas fully, but she saw an opportunity, not just for herself, but for kids like Jamal and Max. She agreed to consider it. The charity launched with a gala at La Maison, a symbolic choice. Emily, now the director of Max's Table, stood at the podium, her voice steady as she shared her vision. Restaurants as safe spaces for every child, every family. The room, filled with donors, activists, and families, erupted in applause. Max, sitting with Claire, clapped too, his smile brighter than ever. But the night held one final twist. Claire took the stage, her hands trembling but her resolve firm. "I've been in touch with Emily for months," she revealed, her eyes on Thomas. "I asked for her help with Max because I knew she understood him in a way we didn't. I kept it from you, Thomas, because I was afraid you'd shut it down. But Emily's kindness didn't just change Max's night, it changed our family." The room fell silent, all eyes on Thomas. He stood, his face a mix of shock and shame. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he walked to the stage, took Claire's hand, and faced the crowd. "I've spent years building a company, but I forgot how to build a family," he said. "Emily showed me what I was missing. Claire showed me what love really means. I have a choice now, and I choose my son." The audience rose to its feet, the applause thunderous. Emily, standing off stage, felt tears prick her eyes, not for Thomas, but for Max, for Jamal, for every kid who deserved to be seen. A year later, Emily stood outside her own restaurant, Empathy's Table, in the heart of Brooklyn. The sign glowed warmly, its tagline simple, "A seat for everyone." Inside, families dined in a space designed for inclusion, sensory-friendly lighting, quiet corners, staff trained by Max's Table. Jamal, now 18, worked as a host, his confidence growing with every shift. Thomas and Claire became regular patrons, Max always ordering his favorite mashed potatoes. Thomas had stepped back from Horizon Tech, delegating more to spend time with Max, learning his son's world one small step at a time. Claire, reinvigorated, had started designing again, her art adorning the restaurant's walls. The viral scandal had faded, but its impact lingered. Emily's story had sparked a movement, with restaurants across the country adopting Max's Table training. Social media still buzzed with #Empathy's Table, customers sharing stories of dining experiences that felt like home. As Emily watched a young girl with autism giggle over a plate of pancakes, she felt her mother's presence, her strength. She'd turned pain into purpose, loss into love. And in that moment, she knew. Kindness wasn't just a gesture, it was a revolution.